final episode of Attack Wrap for the year here on Rogers TV. Today I'm joined with Mark McKelvie, J.C. Coutts, and Adrien Mousseau. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on this final episode of the year.
Thank you, Nick. It feels a little odd being back in the studio. It's been quite a while, at least I know for us two. I know JC's been here quite often, but good to be here and good to put a bow on what was an interesting season.
Yeah, you didn't even want to join us for the Saginaw series in the studio, so at least me and JC, we got some time here.
Oh, I guess you were here. That is right, yes.
Excellent. Well, talking about these Owen Sound Attack, just published yesterday, striking a 10-year lease deal with the city of Owen Sound. Sounds like there's an option to add 5 more at the end, with $500,000 being offered up from the organization for, sounds like, the betterment of the Bayshore. What do you guys think this team means to this city? I mean, it seems important for them to stick around.
I mean, I didn't have the luxury of growing up in Owen Sound, but as an outsider, I can certainly recognize what it means. Like, if you go to the Bayshore for an average game, there's a stat out there that something like 10% of the people in the city have to go to the games in order to fill the Bayshore to the level that it does. I mean, you don't get that kind of fan support anywhere else. It's very unique to Owen Sound. Having had the opportunity to live across Canada and work in several OHL markets, several junior hockey markets, this is a city that's completely different and in a good way. I don't think that there was ever any doubt that this team was going to be staying, but there's just something about this team that is synonymous with the culture of Owen Sound and with the identity of the city that to imagine them anywhere else, you can't. It just doesn't make sense.
Exactly that. And I mean, I think it was mentioned by City Council, the impact that the Attack have on the local economy, from the hotels, the restaurants, the gas stations were even mentioned. So this team is an integral part of the community. It's great to see that the commitment is there long term. I don't think any of us thought anything was going to change, but to lock it in, to make it sealed, we can look ahead to what could be a fun decade.
Yeah, and like JC said, I didn't grow up in Owen Sound. I came here just a few years ago. And when I was interviewing Ron McLean last year at Hockey Day in Canada, I had mentioned to him in a question that hockey is Owen Sound and Owen Sound is hockey. So this lease agreement with the Owen Sound Attack, it just serves so well for the community as a whole. And it brings together the community. It unifies us. And it's very accepting. You go to the Bayshore on a Saturday night, everybody, no matter what, is having a good time, and they're all there for one cause, and it's to see the Attack succeed. And it's good to know that it's going to be there for at least 10 more years.
Absolutely. Looking 10, if they take the 5-year option, 15 years down the road, how many banners are going to be hanging from that maybe arguably low ceiling?
I would hope several would be nice, right? Wouldn't that be the goal? I know we can look up now and see what's there. There was that championship from back in 2011, but at the end of the day here, championships or not, this has still become such an important part of the community, correct? So I think at the end of the day, they're proud of their team one way or another, but the goal definitely has to be to win. That's the goal each and every year.
Yeah, this wasn't a banner season by no means, as we're recapping what was of the 2023-2024 season. But you still see the passion that came into the building, and Game 3 was one of the most raucous crowds we've had all season, and it was barely over 2,000 people. So the passion is still there. Hopefully, there's a few more banners hanging at the end of this 10-year. But if there isn't, I'm still sure the passion is going to be there, and the lifelong fans are going to be coming out in full force.
Absolutely. It might be one of the smaller arenas in the league, but it certainly feels like it's one of the loudest. So that's great to see. On this note of community engagement and getting involved with the team, if you are watching us at home right now, and this show is live during Game 5 of the Leafs games, so thank you for your commitment, you can actually phone in or text in, rather, and email with the information here at the bottom of the screen. And if you have any questions for the panel, then please make sure you do so. And if you do, you'll be entered to win a draw at the end of the show. We have a signed Owen Sound Attack away jersey, nice, beautiful white jersey. It's got all the signatures right behind Adrien here, and you will be entered to win the draw for this jersey. You can pick it up, and we're looking forward to giving that to somebody here at the end of the show. So make sure you text or call in to our producer, Mark Perry, and he will get that question over to us. So, with that being said, let's go to the first fan question that was sent in this week. This comes from Caleb Chappelle, and he is wondering, what is the favorite sports movie of each of the Attack players? Now, given that we're not Attack players, I know a few of them over the course of the season on Attack Rap have mentioned Goon is up there, Slapshot is up there, Miracle was mentioned by myself about 24 times, which is I think how many times I asked the question. But let me turn it over to you guys and ask you, what is your favorite sports movie? A nice beach ball to get this thing started.
Oh boy, that is a tough question. Maybe like if I had to top 5 it for you.
Sure.
It's going to be like Moneyball's in there.
Yep.
Major League is in there for baseball. For hockey, of course, you've got Goon and Slapshot, which are classics. I like a good football movie every now and then. Like, I shouldn't be great. I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but Invincible with Mark Wahlberg. I love that movie. I don't know why. It's just a good movie. Good soundtrack. So I love sports movies, but those are some of my favorites.
I was going to mention another football movie, but I'm not sure we're even allowed to celebrate this one now. I think some stuff came out, but how good's The Blind Side, right? That's a great movie. I know some things have come out in recent years. For me, a lot of people know, big horse racing guy, Seabiscuit. What a great movie. And then if I had to go over to the hockey side, I'm with you, Miracle. I just thought it was done perfectly. Yes, Team USA, but you know what? It's a great hockey film.
For me, if you go back to my childhood, there wasn't one single day that I didn't watch it. One of the best trilogy of all time, The Mighty Ducks. So D2 used to be my favorite. D3 is now my favorite. D1, The Mighty Ducks original, is a classic. Those are some of my favorites, but I also like Hardball with Keanu Reeves. That's one of my...
I love it when you call me Big Pop.
There you go. Exactly. So Hardball or... everyone that they said.
Yeah.
I just love sports movies.
Fantastic. I think, if I were to join you in the top list, Miracle's got to be up there. There was a time in my life where I think I had the entire script memorized to Remember the Titans. Fantastic movie as well. So I'll join you there on a good football movie as well.
I would also throw out, because we're kind of into golf season, Caddyshack. Not a movie too. So we could probably go on for the whole hour here. So we're not the Attack players, but we've just given you viewing options for the next month.
Yeah, Caleb, I hope that's a good enough answer for you. So we've got another question, I believe, from the same family there, now coming from Rick. And he wants to know, how many wins will the Attack have at the end of next season? Now, Rick, before we answer that, what I want to do, before we look forward to the next season, I think we should take a minute. Let's look back on the season that just happened. And I wanted to ask you guys, maybe there are some highlights for you. J.C., why don't we start with you? Are there any highlights from this past season that you just feel like really encapsulated what the Owen Sound Attack were this year?
You know, there's quite a few, but there's one game I'm going to remember because it involved my hometown team that I watched growing up, the Ottawa 67s. It was a game in Ottawa in which Owen Sound was down. You can see there 5-2. It looked like they were out of this game, and my wife was yelling at me to come help with the dishes. It was a Sunday afternoon. I'm like, wait a minute, there's something up here. They got a power play. I feel like something's going to happen. And sure enough, something happened. They score a quick one here. They get another quick one in just a moment on the extended power play. And all of a sudden, we're off to overtime. And it's crazy in Ottawa. And they win in overtime. So I was hopeful at this moment. And I think it was a bit of a turning point for the team where they learned that if they work together, if they don't give up, that they can do good things in a game. They can win. They can come back. And to do it against a pretty good Ottawa team at that point was something. I'd hoped that maybe that would have carried over a little bit longer throughout the season. It didn't, unfortunately, but that spirit, you knew it was there. You knew that this team had that level. They had that gear, and they could find it if they needed to. So that was a really special one for me this season.
And how cool is it that the kid from Ottawa closes the game out in overtime, says, okay, go with the winner.
Absolutely. I think one of the things I really liked about that game that you mentioned as well is that tying goal. Just the fact that they were willing to grind in the front of the net for a goal. It was something that, you know, we saw sometimes and didn't see other times, but just the willingness to get the dirty goals, you know, right in front, sacrifice the body. Maybe you're taking a puck to the leg or to the stomach, but you're willing to do that to make the play. And I think you're right. What a fantastic highlight for the year.
Yeah, and that capped off 3 in a row on that Eastern swing, which they hadn't done that in a long, long time.
Exactly.
So that was amazing too, which was also an Attack fan trip too for the first 2 parts of that trip. So they had a lot of fans there to scream for him in overtime.
So maybe the fans are the secret recipe to success here, eh?
Well, the road was, we know that.
The road certainly was this year. Is there anything to that? Like, you think just being together, you're spending a little bit extra time. I mean, we're in a small town already. They see each other every day. But do you think there's anything to that, being on the road and you're living together, you're doing all that kind of feeds into the extra chemistry?
I think there is a little bit, of course, but at the end of the day, usually you're going to play your best hockey on home ice. I think this was just one of those years. But road trips like that, victories like that, that's a long bus ride from Ottawa to Owen Sound. And had it been a stinker of an effort, probably feels like an even longer ride. So I think there is a bit of that, the camaraderie, the brotherhood that builds when you're on the road.
For sure. Well, we got some more highlights to get to. So, Mark, why don't we jump into what's a highlight for you from this past season?
Yeah, I always think of the games that are thrilling, just like J.C. did when you go back to that big comeback victory on the road. For me, there was a couple of games as we got towards the second half of the season where Owen Sound prevailed in overtime. And I threw out a couple of those suggestions to our producer, Mark Perry, so I'm sure we'll bring up a highlight in a second. But this was a team that had to find ways to win on different nights. And a lot of the times, they had to rely on getting good goaltending. In this case, against the Oshawa Generals that night, there was not a whole lot of goal scoring going on. It was a tight affair right through, and we would see the Attack wearing those great Owen Sound Grays uniforms find a way to get the victory in this game. But like I mentioned, the goaltending was strong, and that was a huge area that Owen Sound had a leg up on a lot of their opponents, was the great play of a Carter George. But the Attack taking on an Oshawa team that we now are seeing just roll through the OHL playoffs. I'm not so sure we respected them at the time for the talent that they were, but they rattled off an impressive winning streak to end the season. Ultimately on this night, the Attack and the Generals go to overtime, and the Attack are going to pull out the victory here on a breakaway for who else but their captain, Colby Barlow. He makes no mistake as he goes 5-hole along the ice, just effortless right there. He ends it. So for me, that overtime winner, which I think came about a week or two after Denny Gore had an overtime winner against the Barrie Colts, those are games that stand out because of the thrilling end to it, but also the way that they found a way to win.
It looked like a pretty typical Owen Sound stat line there with the shots on goal. Maybe you guys could speak a little bit to that. Like, what was the cause in your minds of just kind of higher shots on goal against? And you know, our shots were pretty good most nights, but it seemed like some of those high danger chances, we were missing those.
Yeah, I know, like, when Coach Greg Walters was at the helm, he had the thing that it was, you'd have over 30 shots and you would like to have under 30 shots against. And that was not the case for this team this season. And for most of the season, you would see them get outshot by, Carter George had, what was it, Mark, 11 games that had 40
plus saves.
And it just absolutely incredible. And yeah, a little bit was that keeping everybody to the outside, not letting anybody into the house, but I also just think that in the inability to clear pucks from in front of the net, poor defensive play at times just simply was unacceptable all season long. And then you're just relying, when you have a goalie like Carter George, you take a few more risks offensively, and you know that he's going to be back there to stop him. So a combination of those three things that I just mentioned, I think tally the shots up on your end. And it might be a benefit for Carter George. He's ranked second in the final standings with Central Scouting, so among North American goaltenders.
Certainly there was a difference in games when Carter was in net versus Corbin. You could see the guys, blocking a few more shots, getting into the shot lane before taking the attack on the point. And, a couple of these just small things that maybe people miss throughout the season, but they accumulate into fairly sizable numbers. Carter, I think, having over 2,000 shots against this season. I mean, like you said, if you're going to get practice, there's some good practice for you for the year.
Yeah, one thing that stood out for me, at least with Carter George's game, and it's something that we saw right away the moment he showed up in Owen Sound, his puck handling ability. And I think a lot of the times that also leads to the D maybe not coming down as low because he's trying to rim it around the boards. He's trying to get it out so quickly. And to Adrian's point, you take more chances. You're playing a different style because you've got a goaltender that moves the puck so well. And I think they just relied on him. And that can't happen going forward. Not that they can't rely on him. That's not what I'm saying. They're going to rely on him heavily going forward. But you can't go into games thinking we can just hang him out to dry because we saw as the season went on, he faced so much rubber, like you mentioned. He played a ton. I think he just got tired at the end. It was the most hockey he'd ever played in 1 year. And you're going to see what happens. I don't care if you're Patrick Waugh or Martin Brodeur. You're eventually going to get tired.
Well, I think that puck handling ability is something to talk about for sure. I mean, having lived in Calgary during the Flames Mike Smith era, I can tell you there was some panic in the Saddle Dome whenever Mike Smith would play the puck, and I didn't get that same sense here with Carter. He seems to have a very high hockey IQ. He makes smart decisions when to play the puck, and I mean he's got a lot of potential, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens for him in Vegas this year. So, Adrien, why don't we jump into your highlight for the year?
Yeah, so mine is just one highlight in particular, and it's the 100th goal of Denis Gouault's career. It came late in the season, and for me, it culminated 5 years of hard work, dedication, and I came to the city in 2019, the same year that the trio of Burrows, Sedley, and Gore came to the city. So I watched them grow, and then I came from a small town just outside of where Denis grew up. And the talk around the town and around the school that I was teaching at was, Monsieur, you got to see this kid play hockey. He's absolutely unbelievable. He was the Alliance Player of the Year for the reason in his draft year. And then you get this goal, and it really just put a stamp on what a great career not only did Denis have, but Sam Sedley and Ethan Burrows were riding shotgun along the way. 3 amazing human beings, and to score 100 OHL goals is absolutely incredible. Hats off to Denis Gouault. What a career.
Fantastic. It was a great goal. I mean, coming right after the celebration, 38 seconds into the game, the crowd is already in it. They're already emotional. I mean, they're watching 3 guys who have been, raised in the Owen Sound Attack program, and to watch that goal, I mean, it just seemed to come to a head in a storybook kind of way.
Yeah, there were so many times this season that we were expecting a little bit more from the team as a whole, but I don't think you can say that about those 3 kids. They came to play very much most nights.
Absolutely.
Maybe a game off here or there, but that's it. They were the heartbeat of this team this season, the 3 always.
For sure, yeah. They battled all year, and kind of speaking of battling, I'll cut to the highlight I've submitted for the show is actually coming out of Game 3 here. You can see this was the penalty kill in Game 3 at home with Saginaw. Now, Adrien, I know you're not a big fan of this this play during the year, but if we had crowd sound right now, like the crowd at this point, after about 10 seconds of this, they start getting loud. After 20 seconds of killing the play here, Tejas Jordan just absolutely got the fans right into this. He gets the puck back. He keeps going. At this point, the crowd is losing their minds. I'm not sure if I've heard them this loud all year. And, they clear the puck. They successfully kill off this penalty against the Saginaw Spirit, who were a fantastic team. I mean, second best in the regular season. We're watching them dominate. Well, I mean, get dominated and dominate a little bit here in the London series, down 2-1. But the first team to beat London in the playoffs so far. And to watch Tejas, who, he's had a lot of impact outside of just the ice surface this year. Great to see him play that way. So
yeah, you were probably ringside for that one, J.C.
I was.
Just off to your right.
That was entertaining to watch, and I'm not going to lie when I say the first thought that entered my head was, where's that been all year? Like, that's exactly the intensity that you needed on that penalty kill. And it was good to see Tejas get involved like that, to be physical, because he's always been physical, but it seemed like he had kind of shied away from it for a little bit.
Sure.
So to re-find it against, and he knew how big the moment was. They knew that 3rd game was pivotal. They knew if they lost it, it was probably going to be Sweep Town. So he was one of the guys that brought everything in Game 3.
Absolutely. For me, that was the best game they played all year. I know it didn't end with a win, but that was the kind of hockey you want them to play. They were strong defensively. They were strong offensively. J.C., like you said, where was it all year? Sure, we would have loved to see it, but the fact that they brought it out, we got to see it at the end, was just a fantastic way. If you're going to lose, that's the way to lose, for sure.
Yeah, just lost to a better team, right? But
exactly.
you played everything you had right there and left it all on the ice.
So jumping back then to Rick's question that kind of springboarded us into this, give me a quick estimation here. How many wins are the Owen Sound Attack going to finish with next year?
You want to go first?
Hopefully more than Niagara had this year.
Okay.
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, we're going to get to it shortly with our projected lineups, and there's going to be a lot of changes. So, I mean, to me, based on that and based on some of the returns coming back, that's really going to answer that question. But to say theoretically, is the team on paper going to be better than the team that we had on paper this year that a lot of people said we're going to win the West? No, it's not going to be as good. So something's going to have to change. And I honestly, without something that we don't know that's going to happen yet, I don't see them winning more games, and I think the playoffs might be a stretch.
Well, we saw where they finished in the standings, and I think that could be probably a realistic spot for them again next year. So I'm going to leave the number at where it was this year. I'll say 29. You still got Carter George, who's another year older, who could be the best goalie in the league. I think he's definitely in that conversation. He's going to win you some games automatically. You've got some veterans that will be coming back, and we know there'll probably be changes, but we also know they're not going to go with a complete rookie roster, right? So there'll be OHL players in this lineup, whether those changes come or not. I'm still going to say 29 wins.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. If you're going to put it over-under on the season, I would put it around 26.5, 27.5 wins, and I think that's a realistic number for the Owen Sound Attack. When you look at this team that's going to be coming back, on the defensive end, you're only missing Sam Sedley. And yeah, he did a lot offensively, and he was good defensively near the end of the year, but that's the part of his game that's lacking. So when you look at Carter George is going to get a year older, and that whole D-core is going to grow as a whole. Defensively, I don't think you're going to see as big of numbers against as what a lot of people are anticipating. I think it's going to be a struggle to score goals, but if you have Colby Barlow and Cedric Guindon all season long, I think you're going to have a one-line team kind of like you had this year anyways. Colby missed 16 games throughout most of the year, and Survek Petrosky had a really hard time through that stretch as well. So you played most of the season with just one offensive line. It's going to be a much more of the same, like Mark said. I would say around 27 to 28 wins, just shy of 30.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a safe way to put it. I mean, we know there's going to be, the only guarantees we have are that the 3 OAs are gone, but we could say pretty good odds that Survek has likely played his last game here in Owen Sound, given that he'll be an OA next year as well as an import player. And so, it would be a very special player to take up both of those cards. And I think, for himself as well, being an OA, it'd be great for him to play close to home, and who wouldn't want that as well? So I think odds are, we're going to have a very different team. We've got some great young guys coming up as well, but I think that's a safe bet, Well, and I think it plays also into some other teams are going to get worse next year. I don't know what Saginaw is going to look like next year with a team full of NHL prospects. Maybe a couple of them go before their OA year, a couple of OAs on the team as well. So, there'll be a pretty big shakeup, I think, in our division. This division was very much divided by the top half and the bottom half this year. And I think next year it'll be a little bit closer, and we could see us move up and down. But I think the number of wins will be right around where it was this year. So good question there, Rick. Thanks for sending that in. What we'd love to just take a moment now to do, and we'll do some of this before the break. We'll come back after the break and keep going, but we've got a couple of highlights of players to look at. So the first one we'll take a quick peek at is Denny Gore. And Adrien, maybe you definitely are a big fan of this kid, so I'll let you kind of take it away and just give us a couple of points about this guy that really stand out to you.
Yeah, when you look at it, where he came from his rookie season, drafted in the first round, and he came into the city, and he was playing as a fourth-line left winger, or right winger, pardon me, and he didn't have the best season, and then it was cut to COVID, has that entire COVID season, And then here he has a 96-point season in his final season in the Ontario Hockey League. It's actually come to a shock to me that he hasn't been signed by anybody professionally as of yet. I know that he is talking to teams, so hopefully something comes soon for Denis Gourde, maybe early into next season. But what can you say? The kid always has a smile on his face. In interviews down low in my 2 seasons, and then I'm sure J.C. can echo what I'm going to say here, never short of a soundbite either. He always told you what he was thinking. And one of the funnier moments with Denis Gourde, I think all the players would say, is that he's not the best speller on the team, so you always get some good laughs from the boys, and always a guy that just like lifted spirits, and not only with his play on the ice, but with his just the way that he was brought up and raised by his 2 parents, and I know his brother at home, and just a great kid. And another little story, he came into my school, and he grew up French. His mom's a teacher in their French Catholic school board, and he came to our school and he hadn't spoken French in about 5 years, and he had some difficulties there, but he grinded through it, and that's kind of the player that he was. Just when times got tough, he would grind through it and he'd find a way. And great 5 years in Owen Sound, Denis Gourde.
Absolutely. I mean, he was a quintessential hockey player. I mean, the missing tooth smile, the ability to get net front, to snipe the way he did. I mean, he could take backhand passes with ease. So, fantastic player. Great to hear he's talking to teams. I mean, we saw Ethan Burrows, who we'll get to. We'll cut to break here in about 60 seconds, but we'll get to Ethan after the break. Signing down there with Iowa. Denny, I'm sure. Talking to a couple of guys as well. So we'll wait to see the best from him. You got about 30 seconds. Any Denis Gourde specific things come to mind for you guys?
I think quickly what stands out to me, though, when you guys talk about the quintessential hockey player, block shots. I mean, he could do all aspects of the game, and that's what you wanted, right? And still got 96 points. I don't think he got the respect as an elite scorer in the league that he was.
Last year, he was a -24 at Christmas, came back, finished the year -2. So, I mean, just the amount of effort that he put into the defensive game in that short span says a lot as well.
Fantastic. JC?
Yeah, you know what? I remember the last Sunday game of the year, him taking a lap with his mom around the ice, and that was pretty special. So he's just a good guy, and I hope he gets a contract.
Excellent. I think that mom skate shout out to Kim. Is it Kim Burrows there? Yeah. So thanks to her for all of the work that she's done for this team. So we're going to head to break here. You're watching Attack Wrap on Rogers TV. Go check the Leafs score. I think it's looking good for you Toronto fans. We'll be right back after this break.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Here we are in Canada, where Canada's about to celebrate our talent, our people. This moment is changing your life forever. I promise you. $1 million! This is the gateway to your dreams coming true.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Attack Wrap here on Rogers TV. I'm your host, Nick Kennedy. This next episode, we're going to welcome the Game Day production crew. We're going to have your color commentator, your host, your play-by-play announcer. We're all going to be here on the show, and we're going to break down all of your questions on Attack Wrap here on Rogers TV.
Hi, I'm David Sherman, host of Politically Speaking. Join me for my next show where my guest will be Ian Boddy, Mayor of Owen Sound. Politically Speaking on Rogers TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Attack Wrap here on Rogers TV. Make sure if you haven't already sent in a question, you can do so via text or email to our producer, Mark Perry. And if you do, you'll be entered to win a brand new signed Owen Sound Attack away jersey that we will be giving away at the end of this show. You're going to love it. Make sure you text in a question for the panel. Gentlemen, let's jump back into some of these highlights here. We were just briefly there talking about one of our other OAs, Ethan Burrows, obviously played his final game here in Owen Sound, signed down in Iowa. I mean, he had still a dominant year. Not necessarily the sniper the way Denny would be, but I think this this player scored some incredible goals. I think back to Colby's first home game of the year against Erie, and Denny ties it up late. Ethan takes a puck off the wall, which I think came from Cedric, and then pots it for the OT winner against Erie at home, the first game against Erie of the year. And just a fantastic player who had a knack for making these big-time, big-moment plays. Is there anything from his career here in Owen Sound that just really stood out to you?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just how steady he was, right? Mr. Reliable is what I would call him. Could do anything you needed. If you needed him to kill a penalty, you needed him to be out there to protect a 1-goal lead, he's going to get the job done. He was just good in all areas of the game, and the stat lines for him over the years were just so steady as well. Got to 31 goals this year, as you can see on your screen right now. 66 penalty minutes, and I can't even say how many times he got penalties this year that I disagreed with because he just outmuscled opponents, and kind of in a sneaky, strong way where he could go into the corner with a guy and just, be very strong on his stick and knock over the opponent and get called for cross-checking or interference, something like that, because I don't think the opponent just necessarily realized how strong Ethan was. So for me, I know the word got thrown around, the perfect human. I think that was one of his coaches said that last year in an interview with the Sun-Times. But for me, I see it, right? Because he gave you everything every single night, right? And I know that maybe is kind of cliche to say, but most games, Ethan Burrows, you never at the end of the night were probably wowed by him, but you never even were like, geez, was he even out there? He just contributed so steadily, and I think he was a real unsung hero for this team over that 5 years.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, also talking about the impact that his mom has had, like the whole family was
just embraced it, right? They embraced being part of this community, and I think that's something that we absolutely need to shout out, because you come to Owen Sound. I know he comes from Georgetown. It's not that far away, really. But at the same time, you always hear the rumblings around the league. Players are like, where's Owen Sound?
Right.
Where is Owen Sound? What's this community all about? And I think as soon as you get here, you realize the community embraces the team, as we've talked about. And I think the families realize that it just becomes a second home. So it was awesome to see. It'll be different not seeing the Burrows family around next year.
Absolutely. One of those Owen Sound staples for the last number of years. So wishing him all the best. And we'll take a quick peek here then at Sam Sedley. I mean, there's a lot you could say about Sam. He was an offensive defenseman. I think in one of our interviews here on Attack Wrap, he said his favorite part about playing hockey was playing offense. So
shocker.
Yeah, he was a dominant player. Like, the only way you can say this is your OAs are supposed to be your best players, and he was absolutely one of our best players. You can see him, he goes end to end, he can play with the puck. I think the thing that a lot of people didn't realize about him was how deceptive he was with the puck. He could mask his passes. He could take it one way, make you think he's going the other way. J.C., I'm sure you get to watch a lot of the defensive end there, being down by the boards and in the home side. So you probably got a really good look at some of the skills that Sam had and developed over his time here in Owen Sound.
Yeah, you could tell that he's a very smooth skating defenseman, and every time he got his stick on it, the head went up, and he's looking 200 feet. Like, he's surveying the entire ice, and he's trying to make the long, perfect pass, because, as you know, you can always pass the puck faster than you can skate with it. So he was always looking for those opportunities. Did he always connect with them? Did he make them? Yeah, a lot of the times he did because he ended up with an assist record for the team.
Right.
So, I mean, almost a point per game pace as an overage defenseman is pretty good in the Ontario Hockey League. And they are going to miss that next season, to have that ability to move that puck as fast as they do. And I don't know what the defense is going to look like next year. It's going to be big, we know that, but will it move the puck as quickly and as efficiently as Sam Sedley did? We'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely. I mean, you guys got to watch him for a number of years, and then we see a certain a new Sam come into the mix here, and Sam Etche, who's kind of got a mix of defense and forward as well, and hoping maybe he can pull some pointers from Seds and see what he's able to do. How does a team replace a guy like Sam Sedley?
We always say it's like impossible to replace a guy like that, but I think you can, and it's not going to be through Sam Etche. I think it's going to be through James Petrosky. I like the way that James Petrosky reads the ice as well. I think he got pigeonholed in that third D pairing, unfortunately for him, because I thought he was one of our best defensemen in the playoffs, or the attack's best defenseman in the playoffs. And I really do think that James Petrosky, the way that he skates, with the size that he brings at 6'3", nearing 200 pounds, and with his shot and the way that he is able to find lanes from the blue line to get shots on net is a very hidden and very hard talent to have. And James Petrosky, in my opinion, is the best at that on the entire team. So I do think that Sam Sedley's game transfers very well into James Petrosky's game. And I don't think there's going to be that much of a disconnect there when you're looking at the future of the Owen Sound attack. One thing that nobody has that Sam Sedley has, though, however, in my opinion, is the ability to play 40 minutes of hockey in a 60-minute game. It just seemed like he was always on the ice, always skating, and never losing a breath. It was very impressive to watch him skate so fluidly on the ice. I think that is the one part of the game that he will be missing, and that the Owen Sound attack fans will miss on the ice.
Yeah, you can't replace him, but the one thing I'll say about that is when he wasn't in the lineup, this team really struggled. They didn't have the D that could break the puck out, that could be that puck-moving defenseman. The thing is, next year, he's not even in the mix, right? So I think this team was built so much around him. Now going forward, he's not an option, out of sight, out of mind. So this team will now start to have to generate some new systems, new breakouts, and won't all basically be on number 9.
And for James as well, I mean, we saw him jump into that number 1 power play role when Sam was hurt and taking some time to recover. And he handled it very well. I mean, it didn't really feel like we missed too much of a beat, maybe gained a little bit of size on the power play, but it still felt like the same dominant power play. It still dominated the way it did all year. We didn't gain, we didn't lose much having him in that role. I mean, maybe struggled a little bit on breaking into the zone on the power play, but lots of power plays do now these days. And
well, the power play always found a way to click, right? Whether Colby Barlow was out of the lineup, whether Sam Sedley was out of the lineup, their power play finishing around 30% was one of the best all time in the internet era of the OHL. In fact, the London Knights might have finished first, but those two power play percentages are going to rank top 5 since 1997. So I think that's one area, obviously, they're going to want to make sure they maintain. Maybe Sam Sedley, as we know, was such a huge part of that. It might be hard to do it, but they found ways.
Excellent. Let's we'll run through this real quick. I mean, we talked Servac Petrovsky, likely probably done in an Owen Sound jersey. That's not a hot take by any means.
Nope.
I mean, you're often not going to have an overage and import player. The way the OHL works for fans watching at home, you get a couple of cards that you can use. So you get your 3 OAs, you get 2 import players, and if one player takes both of those spots, you can't just use one of those cards to pay for that player. So likely Servac is done, but a dominant player, you mentioned, maybe could have had a season a little bit better. I mean, he really saw him click in the World Juniors there. Fantastic tournament. He showed great signs throughout the year, still had a great year. I mean, he's going to go and play likely in Europe next year, and he's going to have a fantastic season playing, I think, in the World Championships right now. What did you guys like about this guy? I mean, he always seemed to battle.
I'll say that I like his speed. I like the fact that he's got a decent shot. He knows where to find like the key areas of the ice to be in. I think, unfortunately for him, he just got caught in a bit of a forward logjam with the Owen Sound attack, where you've got some pretty good, talented forwards up front. Colby Bartle's in the mix. You've got Gain Doan in the mix. Where does Petrovsky fit into the fold? And I mean, the obvious answer to me is like, that's a top line guy based on what we saw at the World Juniors. If he's on the top line, given the key minutes, he's probably going to perform really well. But they couldn't put him there, and so I think. Unfortunately for him, I mean, it cost him in that he fell off with Minnesota a little bit. He's likely going to re-enter the draft this year. Hopefully he has a pro career, but it sounds like things are going good in his own country. He's going to get some world championship experience this year. So I'm excited to see where it goes for him, but it just won't be here, unfortunately.
It's just going to have to become more consistent, right? And it's not trying to put a knock on Servac, right? Because when he's going, he's as talented as any forward they had on this group, but the consistency just wasn't there, and it's a little disappointing because what he did in his rookie year, and Adrien, we watched it up close and personal. You thought sky was the limit, kind of plateaued.
I think Servac Petrovsky, and maybe this is harsh, but I think he really embodies what the Owen Sound attack have been over the past 3 years. There was so much hope and so much promise going into the next 2 seasons, and it just kind of stayed stagnant. And he's a great player, a great kid, but when you look at his stat line that was just on the screen, 20 goals, 30 assists, 50 points for a drafted player, that's not going to do it for me, especially as an import player. But he had his moments. When I look back at his career here in Owen Sound, I always go to that one goal. It was a penalty shot goal in Kitchener. He came down. It was in his very first season, an absolute wrister, absolutely ripped it high glove, and that's what we came to love. And it was his wrist shot, and he just needed to add a little bit more to his game, and it just couldn't do it.
Well, I hope for him, next year getting a little bit more time on the ice. One of those guys that he seemed to really be at his best when he had kind of fallen into a rhythm. Lots of time on ice, lots of chances with the puck. So we wish him all the best. And J.C., like you said, I think he'll likely have a decent pro career as well, whatever level that might be. So all the best to Servac there. We got 2 more to look at here. I mean, none other than Captain Colby had been reassigned there to the Manitoba Moose after the season. Played a few games there against the Stars, and then in the playoffs, not so great for the Moose, but Colby, a fantastic year. I think we even have footage of his first pro goal with the Manitoba Moose. This guy is... he's a leader. There's no other way to put this. He leads the guys, and you can see him at practice. He is right there in the mix. He's going to work as hard as the guy next to him. And, you could see the emotion in him when they lost there to Saginaw. And he just had to take a minute there at center ice and take it all in. And, of course, being re-signed to the Moose after that. So, this guy's had an impact on the team. We've talked about players having impacts. It's hard to go somewhere and not see a Barlow jersey. I'm wondering for you guys, you've been around the team for a while. Are there many players that have had impacts like this?
On the score sheet, probably not since a Nick Suzuki, when we thought it was a big deal that he got 20 goals in his rookie season, but it's just the patented one-timer, the Barlow bomb, that it's become known, and there you see it right there, scoring with the Manitoba Moose. How I describe his season was, as advertised, if you take out that chunk that he missed due to injury, what would the numbers have been? He would have been a 50-goal scorer, right? Like, he might have pushed for a spot on Team Canada at the World Juniors. To me, though, he was always just, something was off, half a step, right? His skating, and I think that's probably due to the injury. So this offseason is going to be huge for him. Yeah. He still found ways, probably not at 100%, to put up 40 goals. So for me, it was as advertised. He's a lethal shooter. He's one of the best in the league. He's just going to continue to go this way, right? He's always going to be trending up. But again, it's probably one of those, what if he just hadn't got hurt, hadn't have been off a little bit.
Sure. To be as advertised and still nursing an injury the majority of the year is it's saying something towards somebody. What do you guys think about Colby's year? Obviously dealing with the injury, coming in a little bit late to the season, still putting up the numbers that he did.
Well, first of all, the team did exactly what they had to do at the start of the season, knowing that he was missing between the camp and then between the injury, and they all stepped up and performed well without him. But then he came back, and they really built around him. And I did, much like Mark said, feel like for a little while there, December into early January, something was wrong. Like, I think he was playing hurt, probably more so than he should have been. But then all of a sudden, I don't know if it healed up, and he went on a tear for a while there. Very, very hot. I don't know how much longer we're going to get to see the Kobe Barlow show. Sure. I hope it's all next season. And I hope that Winnipeg sends him back in September and says, go and win us a scoring race in the OHL. And we get to get a front row seat for it. I think it's going to be huge.
Absolutely.
For me, I think the one thing, I think we will see him back in Owen Sound next season. I don't think he's going to be playing for the Winnipeg Jets because it's Jets or Attack. There's nothing in between. He can't go play for the Moose there. I think he needs to improve on his skating, and I think he needs to find more ways to score goals. It's kind of weird for me to say, but he had 16 or 17 power play goals, all from the same spot, and he had 41 goals on the season. So that's half his goals coming from that one-timer. Not to say that any of those 5-on-5 goals were also from that spot. So for me, he needs to vary the way he's going to score goals, and he needs to work on his foot speed in the off season, and he has the best people to work with. He goes and works out with Gary Roberts during the summertime with all those pro players. I think he's going to come into this next season, and I really do think he's going to go on an absolute tear. I think he's going to win the scoring title next year for goals, not so much points as. He's a shooter. Don't stray away from what you are. That's not what I'm saying. But in his first season in the OHL, we saw him really go to the net and go hard in the net and get those grimy goals. I think we saw a little bit less of that from Kobe Barlow. He got comfortable in shooting the puck from distance. That's the hardest thing to do in hockey, is to score from distance, and he does it just up at the best that anybody in the junior hockey did it this season. So for me, I think we're going to see him back here with the Bears crest and the C on his shoulder, and that's a good thing for the Owen Sound Attack next season. And at the very least, it's going to sell tickets.
Absolutely. I think, one of those things you saw from Colby as well is, right when you go, man, this guy's got a great shot, but can he do something else? And then he'll take the puck and he'll go through two defenders and he'll rip it backhand top shelf, and you go, okay, wow. Like right when you start going, okay, he's got one move, and then all of a sudden he goes, hold on, like let me show you what I can do. And I think you're right. With this training over this next off season, being able to nurse some of that injury, working with the big names, those plays that he shows flashes of here and there are just going to become more and more commonplace, where he's going to find different ways to score goals. And we're going to see a lot of that next year, I think. I think you're right. That's a tough Jets roster to crack. I mean, the return on the Dubois trade was great. They're already fantastic this year. I mean, we'll see after tonight. We don't know. But, they're a dominant regular season team for sure. And that is a tough roster to crack. I think, the best thing you could probably do for him is give him another year in major juniors and then give him that shot at pros. We got 10 minutes left, so here's what I want to do. I want to take a real quick swing at Carter George. I don't think there's any question that we're going to see him next year, so we won't spend too long on his highlights here. Obviously a dominant player. I want us to get to our lineups in a moment. I think Carter's going to be on all of your lineups for the year, but I mean, this guy has a 50-save shutout against Kitchener. He faces over 2,000 shots in the year. He's getting looks from Team Canada left, right, and center. What is it about this guy that makes him so dominant?
Calm, cool, and collected. That's all I can say, right? He doesn't get phased, and just so steady. He's that presence back there that every team wishes they had, and not every team has it. And we've seen a few years leading up to when Carter came in where goaltending could be on one night but off the next. This guy doesn't really have off nights.
Right.
Absolutely not. And we're going to talk about the barbecue coming up. I think there's one thing that's sure. The team MVP this year was Carter George.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, just the way he tracks the puck through traffic is so good. He he hates to see a puck go past him. He loves all the situations that goaltenders should hate. He loves skating out to handle the puck. He loves shootouts. He loves breakaways. Like, he's a freak in a good way. Yeah. And think of how blessed we are as Attack fans. You've got a bona fide first-round NHL draft pick in Colby Barlow. You've got a bona fide, probably going to be high-round goaltender. Buy tickets, come and see this team, because we're not going to get to enjoy this luxury for very long.
Absolutely. Well, you know, a little bit on your note there, Adrien, we have a question here from Dennis French. Who's your MVP of the year and why? Let's go through this quick. I mean, I agree. I got to say Carter George for the year.
I think it's very simple. Carter George was absolutely outstanding game in, game out. He played, 56 games this season. I think he played, including Ivan Hlinka and Prospects game. I believe I heard it was 65 games in this calendar year. That's unprecedented. He's the MVP.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Carter George as well. The only, I guess you'd say, honorable mention for me, and I talked about it earlier, was an Ethan Burrows, just because of his presence and his consistency. But Carter was the reason they were in most games, most nights.
Yeah. There's nobody better, and the coach kept going to him for a reason, because he felt confident. He wasn't worried that he was going to injure him or ride him too long or have what happened to Braden Gillespie happen.
Sure.
So with that confidence with your coach, hell yeah, you're the MVP.
All right. Well, hey, we've got a few minutes left, so I want to get to Adrian's favorite part of the show here, which will be next year's rosters. So why don't we...
Let the drama start. Let's go.
Why don't we start here with Adrian's roster for next year? Can you talk us through this?
Yeah, so my first line is kind of a combination of what we saw going into last year. I think you have untapped talent on the right wing there with Harry Nancy. Cedric Gagnon is going to be one of my OAs coming back, and Colby Barlow is going to be stapled on that first line left wing. For my second line, Jake Crawford, Declan Waddick, and Sam McHugh. I'm looking for a big step up in Jake Crawford's game. I think he has a lot to show offensively, and I think he's going to show that next season. I really don't have any doubt in that, and I like Declan Waddick and Sam McHugh. Declan adds a little bit more of skill game. Sam McHugh, that grit and tenacity. We'll see if he gets drafted this season. That third line, I really like the combination of Ben Cormier and Antonio Teresini. Now, I know a lot of people are saying we're not getting enough out of our 06 players, and rightfully so. I don't think they've shown enough to go higher in the lineup, so that's why I have him as third line. I think Ben can really be a shutdown guy in the future, and with Antonio's speed, he can match up with anybody. That one import pick, we don't know who it's going to be right now, but that import could go higher up in that lineup depending on how talented he is. We saw Servac jump right into the top two lines. And then I have basically a rookie line with the veteran Tomislav Brennan. I like the way that Tomislav shoots the puck, so that could be offense from deeper in your lineup. Easton Mikas, he was a pick in this most recent draft. He played for the Thunder Bay in the NIJHL, which is Tier 2 junior. He was the highest scoring rookie, and he had a 6-goal, 7-point game this season as well. So I really just think that the Attack need to find scoring from different avenues and different places, and I think that they're going to give this kid a shot. There's a reason that they went and drafted an 07 player in the fourth round of the OHL draft, or third round of the draft, and I think and then Pierce Moody, the first round pick, it was on my left wing. And then my two other OAs are Connor Smith and Teus Jordan, locking in that back end. I really do think that they're going to try once again for the third year in a row to find an import defenseman that's going to work. It didn't work with the last two. Maybe it'll work with this one. Sam Etier locks into that third pair defenseman, and Gabriel Smith and Mason Roy are going to round out that D pairing. Carter George, Matthew Kaprowski, I don't have any issue in net with them. And I really think that the biggest thing for the Attack this season is to let the kids grow in Junior B and Tier 2 Junior A. Don't force anybody into roles that they can't fit, because I really think that was the biggest problem this year. You saw 10 games played by Gabriel Smith. Sam Etier, same thing, sorry, my French just came out on me. But yeah, let the kids grow, let them play. You're going to touch on Evan Kindry real soon. So
excellent.
Let him grow.
Well, we got about 4 minutes here, so I'll give you about a minute to go through
Sorry, guys.
your rosters. I think Antonio's going to be a dark horse pick. I like that one on the third line there.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll bring up my lineup next, and you can see the forwards. Not a lot different from Adrien. The one thing is I left out the imports and didn't include them right now because while Owen Sound will have 2 spots to fill, I'm not sure they're going to get 2 guys to come here. They'll get 1 for sure, I would have to think, but I think it would be a real home run if they're able to get 2 imports to come into the lineup next year. So looking at that forward group, a lot of the same, but you might see I've got Jackson Stewart staying in the mix as one of the OAs. And for me, you're going to have a lot of skill at that top line. You're going to have a lot of youngsters spread throughout. You need someone to protect them. You need that grit. He's an intimidating force out there, and I think he sends messages to all their opponents. So I would keep him around because at the same time, too, they got some other OA candidates that might bring more of a return, but why not keep the guy who I think strikes fear into their opponents? Ethan Kindry at the bottom there. I've got a question mark beside him, a 3rd-round pick, but I think a player that probably could use a little bit of seasoning, whether that is in Tier 2 or Junior B. For my defense, a lot of the same, but question mark with Connor Smith. I think it's 50-50 whether he plays in the AHL next year. So is he back? Hard to say, but pretty no-brainers right there with the 7D and the goaltending as well, George and Kaprowski.
Excellent.
There's not going to be any changes to the goaltenders, I can tell you that for mine. But the one area where I'm going to differ a little bit is going to be on the OA picks. I feel like Sam McHugh's got to be on that top line, top 6 for sure next season. There's a couple blank spots there because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know the return that we might see for Landon Hookie. I don't have Jackson Stewart staying around. Dale DeGray is going to be busy this summer working the phones, trying to get the best he can for those pieces that he has to move. When we look at the defense side, I think, gone off the board here, and I've kept Madden Steen as one of my OAs. I like his size, I like his grit, I like his game. He probably pairs with Connor Smith. They paired a lot last season. Braden Rogers, Gabriel Smith, Sam Etienne going to get more time. And James Petrofsky, I know Adrian's mentioned it a few times, but with increased ice time and an increased role, I think we're going to see a lot from him this year. So pretty excited about that potential lineup, but it's going to change as more players come in the fold.
Fantastic. Absolutely. I'm sure we'll know a little bit more by the barbecue, not everything. Make sure you guys take a look. I believe it's coming May, I want to say 26th, Sunday. Big barbecue coming. I think I'll say I love the Jackson Stewart pick. I said at the end of the year, this guy could use one more year here, and he's going to be lethal. He's going to be so terrifying. He's going to be a force. That style of hockey's coming back. I live for it. That's what I want. Great picks as well on getting JP back. I thought that was great all around. So why don't we do the draw real quick here for the jersey? We got a little carried away. That's the best part of this show.
We'll let you grab it. You'll say
you're the host of the show.
Right, well,
great season, Nick, this year.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And the winner of this year's Owen Sound Attack signed jersey is going to Caleb Chappelle. So congratulations, or Chappell, sorry, I don't know how to say your last name there, but Caleb, that's a big win there for you. So congratulations, you have won this jersey, and that spells the end of Attack Wrap for this year. I mean, we're looking forward to next year. Who was it here? Marlene Erbschot sent in more of a statement than anything, saying she's feeling the attack hockey withdrawal. I think she speaks for all of us when she says that. And I know a few guys were there watching the draft and getting to meet a couple of the players. Carter and Jake Crawford showed up as well to say hi to all the folks that were there. So, I think a lot of guys are just really excited for next year. Families, it's great to see them. My favorite part about going to the Bayshore, seeing all the kids run down, give all the high fives. You see Steiner was the best guy. He walks out, shakes the hand of every single player, or every single kid there. And that's really, to me, that's what embodies the Bayshore, the Owen Sound Attack, and the atmosphere there. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching this show this year. Very big honor for myself to get to host this year, and big shout out to the rest of these guys who have all been on the show before me, and I could learn from them as well. And so thank you all for watching here on Rogers TV. If you're watching the replay, hopefully Toronto's still in the playoffs. Maybe not. We'll take a look. But we'll catch you next season here on Rogers TV and Attack Wrap.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
These days at your local Legion, we're marching to the beat of a different drum. On a mission to support veterans, to have fun, and to welcome everyone to our ranks. You don't have to be a veteran to join the Legion. And as a member, you'll join thousands of others serving our veterans, our communities, and our country. Oh yeah, and our Member Perks program will save you thousands on shopping, dining, products, and services across the country. Join us at legion.ca.
It's been a long time coming.
You don't win it to keep it, you win it to be a part of its history.
Always knew.
Always hard to see the difference between winning and losing.
How to steal.